What's the TDD?
All right.
That's great. Thanks, everyone. Now.
And it's like, what the are you talking about?
Hello to all of our wonderful viewers, or wonderful viewer. This is third and final installment of our of our TDD excursion, an exploration of technology, disability, and desire in underground art spaces. Today, Callie is going to be talking to us a little bit about her time in the art studio on campus. So, take it away, Penny.
All right. So, to give y'all a little bit of background, Lee Hall, Architecture Hall on Clemson's campus, we went to Georgia. We went to Greenville, South Carolina. Now, we're in our home area of Clemson University. At Lee Hall, there is a variety of different kinds of art spaces, architecture, discussion like classrooms, lecture halls, auditoriums, and studio rooms. Oh, there's also a art, what are they called? Gallery, yes. So art gallery. So right next, kind of going a little bit farther to the art gallery, down this kind of somewhat narrow hall, and to the right, there is a painting studio. So painting studio, and then there's a drawing studio, and then there's sculpture. So different art spaces for different things. This is the painting studio. And so one thing to note right away is you actually have to have a code to get in, where you have to actually press the buttons. It's a 6-number code, and you are given to it if you are attending a specific studio. So I started off the class as normal, where I came in with my coffee and nobody was really there. But to sort of give you an idea of what the space is like, you walk in, you press the buttons, beep, 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 you open the door, and you walk in, and there's basically 2 sides. One on the left and one on the right. The right side has a complete smorgasbord of rolling tables, desks, all of them are on wheels, and then metal easels. And you can adjust the easels both at the base and at the top. You have to twist it and then pull each of the ends to get the right height, depending on whether you want to be sitting. You can adjust it to a standing height, sitting height, so wheelchair height, whatever it is that you would need. But you need to unscrew and then tighten when you're at the location that you want. And then each of these tables vary in size. Some of them have drawers, and some of them are in square, long shape. And the right side is where the intermediate painting students paint, and they all kind of can choose depending on where they want to be in proximity to whatever they're drawing, a drawing reference, whether that be a live study of a human, or what they were doing on the day that I did this observation, which was just painting, essentially, like if you can imagine a table with a bunch of random shit, and then they have to paint it. Still life drawing, exactly. Thank you. So then on the left-hand side is where all the advanced painting students paint, and it's somewhat of a large, narrow way, and there is one side has a place where you can put up paintings on the wall, and then the other side is just a regular hard. What? I can't think of words today, guys.
Partition?
No, not a partition. Just what's the stuff? The stuff that's hard on walls. You put it after the
Drywall?
drywall. Yes, drywall. So there's drywall, right? And so then right next to the wall with the advanced painting students is a cabinet that has mineral spirits, chemicals, stuff for thinning paint, whatever. So that's a little bit of a description of the space. And then throughout the few couple hours that I did the observation, and then I spent a little bit left of the time just painting without really thinking about anything, was kind of paying attention to how people were interacting with each other, how it affected me in the art space, as well as the conversations people were having, which I found the most interesting. And right off the bat, though, the amount of chemical fumes in that space is nauseating.
Yeah.
Not only do you have your own paint or mineral spirits or whatever that's on your own, you are in a complete concrete jungle of painters, sink with paint in it.
Yeah.
I'm literally next to the mineral spirit cabinet, so that's one thing. So you're getting completely absorbed with this smell of oil paint, because that's the boudoir like ways you have to paint with the oils and whatever, not cheapo acrylics or watercolor or whatever that people would say this faux pas in the art space.
Yeah.
And so everybody's painting with oils, and for most people it can be a very, very strong smell. And then the actual lighting of the space is kind of it just depends on what the studio experience is. The lighting in the space was actually very dim because of the still life and trying to create very high contrast lighting with the still life, wanting to have beams of light and then natural light and then darkness in different areas.
Yeah.
So anyway, one thing I found really interesting during this observation was the professor and the TA. So the professor and the TA, one of them, he has many, many different paintings. He does kind of these abstract, surrealist type, distorted perception type paintings. And then his TA, she's in the MFA program, she is kind of mixed modality, mixed media type art. And so it's wanting to incorporate sculpture into painting. But anyway, so what usually happens is they will address the different signs, the intermediate, and then advanced painting students separately, and we'll do, 1 or 2 rounds every day.
Yeah.
The rest of the time is them spent talking in lofty art language about whatever it is that they're. So, like, for example, like one of them will come up to the other person and be like, "So, what's your thought about contextualizing the art space and Berlin's sculpture and how it extends our view of dystopia?" And the other's like, "I actually have a quite controversial opinion about that." And it's like, what the are you talking about? But then my thought is, then they may maximum go to the students like once. So they're so invested in this, like, this microcosmic conversation about whatever bullshit that they're getting on, and then when they do, when the professor does come and kind of observes a difference, he's like, "So what's going on here?" And then everybody's like, "I'm doing fine," basically just doing my painting and skedaddle, get on your little conversation or whatever. And anyway, so. But I could talk more about like different things, but I guess that's like the general gist of the vibe is
so everybody working independently.
Or like I'll go and like I did it more too with this observation, but I like to kind of walk around and see what other students are doing, talk to them about different things. A lot of students were doing a lot of research where they had their computer, they had books, and they were kind of looking into what they were going to do for their next painting. And so there's a lot of it's also very segregated between the advanced painting students.
I was going to say that by ability. That's what I immediately noticed.
There's like a physical partition.
There is a physical partition. Yes, exactly. And so it's an interesting dynamic, and I think that in particular it's the most explicit art space out of our 3. It's the most explicit. This is a art space, and there's no other type of space that this is.
Nobody else is doing anything in that room that is not.
Yeah, but it's so tactically an art space. It's not a desirable art space. I mean, some people maybe would find that is a desirable experience to be in a studio and know this is so, romantic to be painting in this but it's so concrete and fragmented
I've
from
been
the artist. I don't know if you want to.
It's a little clinical.
Yeah,
Aside
it really
from
is.
the paint being splattered around everywhere, just from years of like wear and tear, it's like it's a beige box. Like it is a beige box with nothing to absorb any of the sound, with just,
metal, all the metal
and glass. And
So my wall, so there's the drywall. We learned that word today.
Drywall.
The drywall on the left side of where my painting is, and I get paint everywhere. I paint on my face, I get paint on my clothes, and then I will lean against the wall. There is so much paint on the wall.
It is a Pollock painting. Yeah, it is.
Forget Rothko.
Yeah.
This is just the paint. This paint smears.
Avant-garde, new age.
The artistic experience. Yeah. So it's definitely from a accessibility standpoint.
Well, like you literally have to have a code to enter.
You need a code.
Can't access unless you're on a need-to-know basis.
Which I will say, however, I understand why, because
expensive materials.
Yeah, when I was in undergrad, I had probably about 40 pieces of artwork stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't even not even my tools. I mean, I'm sure they saw the bag and they're like, oh, maybe there'll be tools in there. But I mean, even so, however, I am almost wondering whether or not like a key card would be more.
Yeah.
I feel like they
helpful.
can link it up to your Tiger card or whatever that they can
especially because they have
enter.
There are some of my classrooms where nothing goes on in there, where they have key card access.
Yeah, I'm in bracket and I have a key card to get into one of my rooms.
Or you're like lugging a ton of art supplies or huge canvases.
Yeah.
It's not
You can't.
They
friendly.
can do that because
Yeah.
like why? Like I was able to be able to walk.
Yeah.
But you
when
know
we
how
did the
Clemson is.
center.
They put a key code on there. It helps them for what it is. Nobody complained about it enough, and so they're just keeping it that way because it would cost them another $100 to
But
put
that's
a key
also like
card
another like level of surveillance and something
Yeah.
we talked about in Dr. Gilmore's like infrastructure class a lot, like being able to like surveil who comes in and out of the buildings and all those sorts of
Tracking
things.
behavior
So.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, maybe talk a little bit about maybe like the demographics within the
Classroom.
The studio.
Yeah. So the
Is it all master students in the class you're in?
no,
Or is it undergrad?
they're all undergrad except for me.
Okay.
And then the TA.
Okay.
So the advanced painting students, they're all seniors.
Oh, okay.
And which I'm kind of confused about because that's what they all said, but then one of them definitely has a Clemson ring. So maybe they're getting.
You can get them in June. I think sometimes.
That's probably what they did. So
yeah.
so they're all seniors on my side, and then the right side is sophomores, juniors.
Yeah.
You just can't like flip it. Like you could wear it, but you just can't
You
wear
can't
it a
wear
certain
it.
way.
That makes
I think.
sense. Okay. So then
Ritual.
It's like a Claudia ring.
Ritual.
So the actual and it is fairly diverse. So it's out of the senior painters, they're the senior painters, all white women, are female presenting, and then on the intermediate side, it's about 60-40, 60% being female presenting, 40 being male presenting. The instructor is male presenting. He's middle-aged.
Yeah.
And his TA is I don't remember her name, but she's female presenting. And then racial demographics kind of mixed. And then someone from Nebraska in that class. Yeah.
Wow.
It's you.
I know. No, not that, not me.
Not
A little Husker.
a fellow Husker. Give it up.
And then so yeah, there's always the what I refer to as the art douches in every single art class.
Yeah.
But that's for a whole other conversation. Yeah. But everybody is very interesting. Everybody is kind of nice. But there's actually one person in particular that broke his foot at the beginning or the end of the summer, and he refuses to use his wheelchair. Like, he has a wheelchair, and he's been refusing, so he's been hopping around.
Is it like one of those ones that you like put your knee on and like scoot around, or is it actual like?
It's an actual wheelchair.
Okay.
But he's been not using it the last few days
Interesting.
because he was like literally like hopping around, which is not an accessible space. Like there are easels everywhere. There's just stuff.
It's very crowded.
It's
there. I
very
can only
crowded.
imagine this
Maybe
before.
he
Chairs.
feels that his wheelchair is even more inaccessible in that space if it's that tight.
It must
It's hard to
be.
navigate, yeah.
It must be. And if people are not really making space for him, I could definitely see that to be the case.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like we were sitting down and we were doing critique, and he had like hopped across the entire room, and I was literally like, fuck, like be careful, you're gonna trip. And he's like, oh, it's all right, if I fall, I fall, or kind of whatever. And he had kind of said this, he was,
Self-sacrifice.
I don't know, he was saying something about doing like the Cotton Eye Joe, and then like, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm making that up. That was somebody else I know. It worked at Trader Joe's. They broke their foot doing the Cotton Eye Joe at a wedding.
Oh,
But
work. Okay,
this
great.
guy, he broke it at one of those jumperoony places.
Like a Sky Zone?
Yeah, the trampoline.
Rock and jump.
Rocket.
Park, yeah.
He said that it was his second jump. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Poor guy.
yeah, but anyway, that's a whole interesting thing. But as far as my sensory experience in that space, not pleasant.
Yeah.
I mean, I get sick every time I'm in there, for sure.
Because it's nauseating.
From the chemicals, yeah.
Yeah.
And then and another thing too is the easels themselves. I think that this is one thing that's kind of problematic. And this is the case for so many art spaces, is that it's traditionalist and the technology itself goes by that. And so you literally have to crank it and
Yeah.
do these like very micro level like adjustments.
You gotta have some dexterity to get that going.
Yes, and then this other thing too, but there also is this kind of pompous nature about being in an art space and
Yeah.
doing something independently, quickly, proficiently, and being kind of observed. You are very much so a spectacle when you are in an art space.
Yeah.
And it's a very competitive environment. And so oftentimes it does feel like there is a pressure to not ask for help, not, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
I mean, I've again been in there, and I have taken note of a couple of the setup things in there. I think it is a space that I feel like if the room were rearranged a completely different way every day, I feel like that would be normal. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
It is definitely somewhere where all of the things. I mean, you even said that like the tables and the chairs and stuff are on like wheels. Like you can.
The chairs are not.
The
The tables are. So the tables are on wheels, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
The easels are these big metal easels. The chairs are light; they're not too difficult to move.
Yeah.
But the easels, you gotta bludgeon those, like a whatever those gavelin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole space is like, 4 walls. One of the walls is just windows.
Yeah.
So it's just natural light coming in for the most part. I mean, there are some overhead lights, but they're not like crazy or anything.
They need
they're
to
not,
be
like,
aerating that
super-
space.
They should. Someone should open a window.
I am getting high every day.
Yeah, off of mineral spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is probably not very fun. So do you think that in terms of like, I mean, we already said it is kind of a clinical space in some sense, but like the actual work that's going on in there, do you think that like some of it might be too like busy, or do you think some of it could maybe be disturbing in some sense? Like, what is the kind of temperature in the room on doing stuff that may be sensitive, on having something up for display that may not be to everyone's comfort?
Yeah, I
Does
think
that
that's a
make sense?
really good question, and I mean, honestly, this is somewhat gets into my own opinions about art in general, but Clemson, South Carolina, especially this art program, is very milquetoasty.
Tame, yeah.
Very, tame is even, it's less of a compliment. Like, I feel like people are afraid to go past the boundaries of what is acceptable in the art space.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this spectacle is like, oh wow, this is really dark. Or like the professor, the teacher, he said something like, this is very, he was like, don't take offense to this, but this is very, what's the word he used?
Probably said like macabre or something.
Not even that. I think he said neurotic or something like, or it's giving psychosis.
Neurotic.
It's giving psychosis. And I was like, dude, like there's 6 of me all sitting around a table with a me on the table. Like, of course it's giving psychosis. And so it's this weird kind of art space where it's like, and then I was like talking to my sister and she has an MFA and we were talking about it and she was like, I was like, I don't even feel like this is that weird. And she was like, no, have any of these people like been to like an art museum in the last
painting,
20
like,
years?
fruit baskets after fruit baskets.
Which is a skill to be learned if you're in that process. But it feels almost distorted from my perspective where I'm like, I feel like this should be a space that is explorative, not clinical, not diagnostic. You know, I'm gonna draw this. Yeah. And it feels very fake art.
Well, and I was thinking like, just like the art space in general, I feel like the desire aspect of it is a lot of different areas, but like you said, I feel like sometimes desire is like to have your art appreciated, to get the approval of the instructor, to get the approval of your classmates. And so like your desire shifts based on the temperature of the classroom. You're like, okay, well, my desire is to create this, but like I'm not able to create that because of the other people within that space. And so that like shuts down the creative process in some respects, or force it, or you do the art you want to do, but you're not gonna receive that acclaim that you want to because of the environment.
It's
for
a
sure
competitive space.
Yes, I think
a lot of art is.
It's a lot of. But I mean, we talk about this with the fandom at the Florence show and the Harry Styles, concerts. It's like this idea, it's this unspoken or even sometimes spoken competitive nature that ends up driving insanity or like complacency. Like you're choosing to minimize, say for example you have this innate desire to draw something, to paint something, to create something, but then you feel trapped based on the judgment of others, or
the medium, like you said, like needing to use oil paints when artists can use acrylic paints so beautifully.
Exactly. And I mean the more affordable and everything, you're spending this semester alone I spent $300 on art supplies, and that is helpful if at all I'm supposed to or going to be able to sell any of my art. Like maybe I could make the money back if somebody wants to buy this weird shit. Yeah. So, but like, again, that is talking about the trials of an artist is you're kind of stuck to, make either something that is not to what you desire to make, what's expressing what you're interested in for the sake of wanting to sell it. Yeah. And make a living off of. So would you rather sell out yourself such that you make a living, or would you rather sell out yourself by not working in the art space and working for corporate America or whatever? Yeah. But as far as like the actual tech, it's pretty archaic in there. Yeah. Like there is no technology. I mean, there's headlights but there's no way to adjust them unless you stand on a ladder and move them. And it's not like in classrooms or lecture where you can kind of move the camera around or whatever. Like you have to physically stand up and move the lights. There's a whiteboard. Yeah. That never gets used. That's covered with
palettes are not, I don't think, designed to be palettes.
Yeah, so
they're
our
just like squares of glass.
I mean, like a paintbrush is a piece of technology, but that's not accessible for everyone who might have like dexterity.
Dexterity issues. And there's really, I don't even think that there is anything in there, and this is what I noted. I mean, I didn't go rummaging through drawers, but there was nothing in the space that I observed that was there to handle accessibility. Yeah. Concerns.
I mean, just like thought about like physically standing for an hour or so, however long in that studio. Like if you can't, handle standing because you back issues or something like that, like that's inaccessible. Yeah.
Sage.
Hi, Sage.
Our guest speaker has arrived.
I was trying to be quiet.
Cameo on the podcast.
So that you didn't have to deal with it.
No, you're fine. How was the park? Or the whatever?
Cold.
Yeah, it is. It's cold in here. We're all like doing this, and
Why
toward
don't
the
you
end.
turn the air off?
Yeah, that's a point. Or the fan. I was like, we're gonna power through. We only got a couple more minutes. Thanks, Jeremy.
So tech.
Yeah, the tech.
Desire.
Yeah. All of it was...
disability,
Yeah.
all of it was bad.
Do you think there are any kind of like standards for, I mean, of course, like implicit standards to some extent are kind of apparent, but like, do you think that there are any kind of standards that are defined, like any norming that goes on when the class actually starts? Is there like a syllabus day where you kind of define like, these are expectations, this is kind of what we're going to kind of assume to be the norm going forward, things that could maybe be contested by people depending on like their abilities?
Yeah, there are. I mean, I was never given a syllabus, but and this is the thing about art spaces is there are syllabi, there are things that denote accessibility, and it's kind of discussed in the art spaces, and this is in Clemson included, that I've experienced, and then in other places as well, that we'll just like get to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you have concerns, just like talk to me.
Yeah.
And so you have, I feel like, students like that, this person became disabled with their injury and is through the process of healing, and I discussed this experience with him, so whatever. But they, I think, feel, or at least indicated, a desire to go without the aid.
Yeah.
For what? Because the space was inaccessible, so it just made it more difficult to even thinking about getting into the room, having to put a 6-digit code, all while carrying your shit, all while holding the door open for yourself to then wheel yourself in the room without hitting the door or whatever, or asking somebody for help. I mean, that also positions you in a place of like needing assistance, which is, a odd place to be in as a person. Yeah. So I think that yes, those legal criteria were met, but so implicitly implied that I think might deter people from wanting to even engage in the conversation of like, this is an inaccessible space. And again, but artists like to talk about these things in a very hypothetical and symbolic or metaphorical way. Yeah. And then it's like, but like, what is accessibility? Yeah. It's like, it's accessibility of the mind. Yeah. And it's like, you're really giving nothing though. Yeah.
We're not actually doing anything.
But that
but
also...
it is also depending on the class makeup, accessibility is going to look completely different.
Yeah, and then also just, it is Clemson University, and, the arts programs and the arts are already not...
underfunded.
They're already not prioritized. Yeah. And then you kind of you can tell based on the type of infrastructure that's there that it's not being prioritized at campus. And so then for the instructor, what can you really do? Yeah. When you need tangible technology to help your students.
When art could be like such like a therapeutic and accessible thing if given them resources and funding, but at a institution like this or any other large institution in the United States.
They make you, buy your own shit.
Buy your own shit,
But I think that they definitely have an opportunity as a college to utilize the architecture students or the architecture faculty members to be able to think about the ways to adjust their own academic spaces, these studio spaces, such that it is more...
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about that you're in the architecture building. Like, is that place accessible?
Or is it aesthetic? Is it functional or is it aesthetic?
There are... I've driven past it. It's a relatively new building.
Yeah, there are parts of... But architecture, again, is it ergonomic? Is it accessible? Is it attractive? And this is what I was talking about, is there's the desire component, what it is to be desirably in an art space and what that says about you, whether you're in a music show, whether you're in a coffee shop. What is this kind of weird, ominous feeling, this romanticized feeling about being in an art space, and how accessibility is often positioned as a dagger into that? Why is it, and that kind of
I think
the
in the
question.
art studio, it's like you're in there to work, you're in there to like pump out art, like you don't need these extra distractions or like different lighting or whatever. You just need to be in like the light and like doing your thing and like
Yeah.
at your station, rather than it being a more flexible environment that would allow more and
Why can't it be?
Well,
And why can't it be a
both?
therapeutic?
yeah, why can't it
exactly.
be therapeutic? Like, why
Yeah.
can't other people use it?
Yeah.
You know, why isn't there spaces like that? You know,
And
Yeah.
I tend to think that, you know, if you made the space more accessible in general, that's going to only be a benefit for everybody else that's that's experiencing the space, both for therapeutic reasons and for not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But yeah,
concur.
I think, you know, to ranking them, I would say, I mean, they all were not very good. But I think the actual, from a romanticized idea of what art spaces should be, I would say maybe Desire at the top. But again, it was lackluster.
Yeah.
2, the actual technology did the bare minimum for achieving what it needed to achieve, being an art
Yeah.
space. And then thirdly, I think disability still
Yeah.
being
It's not-
extremely inaccessible for
Yeah.
anybody else that would be able to you know, get in there, or having to completely rearrange the room such that
Yeah.
it would be accessible. But yeah, I think all in all, it's this weird dichotomy between desire and art, and positioning oneself to be wanting to be in this romanticized space, but then it also, how can we make disability romantic, you know? And then that's the crux of it, I think.
Yeah. And that's something we're going to explore in this class even more.
Yeah.
So I think that was a pretty productive, comprehensive conversation about, you know, the TDD, the tech, disability, and desire within art spaces, and art, you know, determined in a you know, somewhat loose and amorphous way. But
and disability, desire, and technology all
also
all,
very
loosely
amorphous
defined and
and nebulous. Yeah.
dependent on the environment that they're in.
Yeah.
All right, well,
that's our time.
thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time, maybe never.
Bye.
Bye.